Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Elena, I have to tell you, I'm feeling a bit defeated today. I was trying to be helpful this morning and I called to my wife to ask where the extra coffee filters were, but she just looked at me like I was speaking another language.
Oh, James, don't feel bad. But I think I see the problem already. You said you called to your wife.
Yeah, exactly. I called to her from the kitchen. Is that wrong? I feel like I'm always messing up the small words.
It's a very common trap. In English, when you're trying to get someone's attention or using the phone, we usually just say, I called my wife. No to needed. If you say call to, it sounds like you're shouting across a large canyon or a very noisy stadium.
I see. So unless I'm lost in the woods, I should probably just leave the to at home. Man, English is like a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
That is the perfect way to put it. And today's word, call, is what I like to call a chameleon word. It's a powerhouse. It changes its meaning depending on where you put it in a sentence.
A powerhouse, huh? I like that. I usually only use it for my phone or when my dog is eating my socks and I have to yell for him to stop. Does it really do that much more?
So much more. We use it to name things, to make big decisions, and even to demand things. It's one of those words that separates a textbook learner from someone who actually sounds natural in a coffee shop.
I definitely want to sound more like a regular at the coffee shop and less like a robot. My barista Mike already judges my simple coffee order enough as it is.
Exactly. So here's the plan for today's episode. First, we are going to look at the basics, the stuff you think you know, but might be tripping you up. Then we'll move into the nuance, like using call to make a choice. And finally, we'll wrap up with some idioms that will make you sound incredibly fluent.
I'm ready. I need to get this right before I go home and confuse my wife again. And hey, for those of you listening, if you want to stop sounding like a textbook and start speaking like a friend, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us out.
It really does. How about you, listener? Have you ever caught yourself adding extra words like to or for where they don't belong? I do it all the time when I'm tired. Don't worry, we're in this together.
Oh, all the time, Elena. Just yesterday, I told my wife I was going to call to my brother, and she just gave me that look. You know, the James, you're doing it again look. It's hard to break the habit of translating directly from my head, honestly.
I feel you. We all do it. But that's the beauty of moving into these phrasal verbs. They make you sound so much more relaxed. For example, let's look into how call changes when we pair it with off. Have you ever had to call off a plan, James?
Oh, definitely. Last weekend, actually. We were supposed to have a big family barbecue, but the weather was miserable. It was pouring, so we had to call off the whole thing. I was gutted because I had already bought the expensive steaks, but my dog didn't mind. He ended up eating most of them anyway.
Lucky dog. So when you call off something, you're canceling it. It's very common for events, meetings, or even weddings, though hopefully not weddings too often. It sounds much more natural in conversation than saying, we canceled the barbecue.
Right. Canceled feels a bit like a formal announcement at a train station. We have called off the barbecue. Sounds like I'm just chatting with a mate. Now, what about call for? I think I heard my neighbor use that the other day.
That's a great one. To call for something means that a situation requires or deserves a specific action or reaction. For instance, if my husband finally finishes that complicated birdhouse he's been building in the garage for 3 months, well, that calls for a celebration.
I bet. So it's like saying this situation needs this. Like if I finally manage to tidy up my junk drawer, that calls for a giant pizza, right?
Exactly. It's the perfect reaction. Think of it as demanding a certain response. How about you, listener? Think about your week. Did anything happen that called for a celebration? Or did you have to call off any plans because you were just too tired? It happens to the best of us.
I usually call off my gym sessions because I run into a bag of chips on the sofa. Is that a good use of the phrase? Wait, no, that's just me being lazy.
Nice try, James. But you're right. We use these phrases to sort out our daily lives. They aren't just extra words. They change the flavor of the sentence. If you say a situation calls for help, it sounds much more urgent than just saying, I need help.
That makes sense. It adds a bit of drama or emphasis. I'm starting to see why my cousin Dave always sounds so posh. He uses these all the time to describe his very busy life.
Well, you don't have to be posh to use them. You just have to be comfortable with the idea that call isn't always about a telephone. It's a very flexible word once you start playing with it. Calling someone or something a specific name can change the whole meaning of a sentence. It's more than just a label. I think I see where you're going. Like, it's the difference between saying, I called my dog, And I called my dog a genius because he finally learned to sit? Exactly. In the first one, you're just shouting for him. In the second, you're using that object plus noun structure to describe him. My dog is the object and a genius is the noun describing him.
He's definitely not a genius, trust me. My wife usually calls me the sock monster because I leave them everywhere. So she, subject, called, verb, me, object, the sock monster, noun complement, right?
Spot on. And we do this with adjectives too. My husband often calls my gardening ambitious when I buy 50 new plants I have no room for. He's being polite, but I know what he means.
I feel you. It's like a gentle way of saying you're overdoing it. But what about when things get a bit more intense? Like when you call someone out?
Oh, that's a great phrasal verb. To call someone out means to challenge them or point out that they're doing something wrong or lying. It's a bit of a confrontation.
Oh, I've been there. My neighbor called me out last week because I told him I was too busy to help move his couch, but then he saw me through the window playing video games.
Ouch! He really called your bluff there, didn't he?
He did. I had no excuse. I just had to admit I was being lazy. I guess I wasn't exactly calling the shots in that conversation. I felt 2 inches tall.
Well, at least you were honest eventually. How about you, listening at home? Do you have a friend or a partner who always calls you out when you're making excuses? It's annoying, but maybe we need it sometimes, right?
Definitely. It keeps us humble. But speaking of being in charge, you mentioned calling the shots. That's another one, right? Like being the boss?
Precisely. The person who calls the shots is the one making the important decisions. In my house, my cat definitely thinks she's the one calling the shots. If her bowl is empty, everyone knows about it.
Cats are like that. They're basically on call 24/7 for their own needs. I tried to be the boss of my dog, but once he sees a squirrel, he calls it quits on our training session and just runs.
Call it quits. To stop doing something because it's too difficult or you're done with it. That's 5 call expressions already, James. You're on a roll.
I'm trying. It's all about the nuance, like you said. It's not just the word, it's the little extra bits we add to it. The little extra flavor, like the seasoning on a good steak. It's the difference between sounding like a textbook and sounding like a real person.
Exactly. And that's a perfect bridge to what we're talking about today. Sometimes, in a professional setting or even just at home, you need to express who is in control without being too aggressive. That's where our first idiom comes in, to call the shots.
To call the shots. I love that one. It sounds very powerful. I always imagine a director on a movie set, pointing and telling everyone where to go.
That's a great way to visualize it. When someone calls the shots, they are the ones making the important decisions. For example, in a big meeting, you might notice that even if there are 10 people in the room, only one person is really calling the shots.
I see that a lot. Honestly, in my house, I like to think I'm the leader of the pack, but let's be real. My wife definitely calls the shots, especially when it comes to the budget. If I want a new gadget, I have to get clearance first.
It's the same with my husband and me, though usually our cat is the one actually calling the shots. If she wants breakfast at 5 a.m., the decision has been made. There's no arguing with her.
The cat is the CEO. I get it. So what about when the work is finally done? When the person calling the shots says, "Okay, everyone, go home."
Then we use our second idiom, to call it a day. It's such a satisfying phrase to say. It means you've decided to stop working, usually because you've done enough or you're too tired to continue.
Oh, I use this one all the time, even when I'm just doing stuff around the house. Like yesterday, I was trying to organize my doom drawer. That one drawer full of batteries, old keys, and mystery cables.
Everyone has one of those, James.
Well, I spent 20 minutes looking at a cable I didn't recognize, got frustrated, and just said, you know what, I'm calling it a day. I shut the drawer and went to play with my dog instead.
That counts. You decided the work was over. In an office, your boss might say, "We've made a lot of progress on this report. Let's call it a day and finish the rest tomorrow." It's a very natural way to end a session.
It feels more polite than just saying, "I'm leaving" or "stop working." It has a nice ring to it.
It really does. How about you, the listener? Have you ever had a day where you just had to call it a day after only an hour? Or maybe you're the one who calls the shots at your workplace. It's an interesting dynamic to think about.
I bet a lot of our listeners are calling the shots right now. But man, these idioms really do make things clearer. To call the shots for authority and to call it a day for closure. I'm going to try to use both of those this week.
I think you should. Just maybe don't call it a day too early or your wife might have something to say about it.
Hey, she calls the shots, so if she says it's time to work, I work. Exactly. And since she's calling the shots, I think it's time for us to see if our listeners have been paying attention. Alina, I'm going to take over for a second and host a little transformation challenge. Are you ready?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I wasn't expecting a quiz today. But sure, I'm game. Let's see what you've got.
All right, listeners, you play along too. I'll give you a simple sentence and you have to change it using the things we've talked about. Task number 1. How do you say the meeting was canceled using a phrasal verb? I'll give you a few seconds to think.
Well, they think. I'll tell you, this happens at my house all the time. My husband usually plans these big bird-watching trips on the weekends, but if the weather is bad, he has to call it off.
Spot on, to call off. I actually had to call off my gym session yesterday because I couldn't find my running shoes. My wife says I probably left them in the refrigerator again. Don't ask, it's a long story.
The refrigerator? James, really? You're a disaster. Anyway, call off is the perfect phrasal verb there. What's the next one?
Task 2, rewrite the sentence, I am the boss here, using that idiom for authority we used earlier. Listeners, do you remember it? It involves a bit of control.
I'd say I call the shots. My cat definitely thinks she calls the shots in our living room. If I'm sitting in her favorite chair when she wants a nap, I have to move. I don't even argue anymore.
I feel you. My dog calls the shots when it's dinner time. If I'm even 1 minute late with the food, he just sits there and stares at me with those judgmental eyes until I feel guilty. It's very effective.
They really do own us, don't they? Okay, what is the final task?
Last one, and this is a tricky one. It's a correction. I heard someone say this the other day. The team called him as a leader. What is wrong with that sentence?
I hear this mistake a lot. It sounds almost right, but it's not quite natural. Listeners, did you catch the extra word? You should just say the team called him a leader. You don't need the word as.
Exactly. You call someone a name, or call someone a hero, or call someone a leader. No as allowed. It's like when my neighbor calls me the guy who loses his keys. He doesn't call me as the guy, he just calls me the guy. How did you do at home? Did you get all 3?
I hope so. If not, don't worry. It's all part of the process. How are you feeling about these, James?
Honestly, half the time I feel like the rules of English are clear as mud. But hey, we're making progress one mistake at a time.
Clear as mud. I love that. It means you're totally confused, right? Because mud is definitely not transparent.
Exactly. But we're cleaning the mud off together. Ready for the final wrap-up?
I am always ready, James. It has been such a lovely chat today. You know, thinking back on everything we discussed, learning a language is a lot like cleaning that mud off your shoes. It takes a bit of effort and maybe a little scrubbing, but eventually the path ahead looks so much clearer.
I feel you. As long as I don't get any of that metaphorical mud on the carpet, my wife would definitely not be happy about that. She is already dealing with my dog bringing in half the backyard every time it rains. It is a constant battle in our house.
I can only imagine. My cat is much the same, though he prefers bringing in leaves from the balcony just to watch me sweep them up. But honestly, James, you did a great job today. Even when the idioms got a bit tricky, you kept the ball rolling.
Thanks, Alina. It's getting easier, I think. Slowly but surely. But hey, we shouldn't keep everyone waiting. What is the plan for our listeners to take this to the next level?
Exactly. It is time for our favorite part of the episode, the takeaway. We want to give you something practical to do so this lesson doesn't just go in one ear and out the other.
I love this part. It makes it feel real. So what is the challenge of the day this time?
Today's challenge is all about that idiom we focused on, call the shots. We want you to write a comment or even just a private note to yourself using that phrase. Tell us about a situation where you had to call the shots. Was it at your job? Was it choosing a vacation spot? Or maybe you let someone else call the shots for a change.
That is a good one. I know for a fact I didn't call the shots last night. My dog basically decided that he wanted to go for a walk at 11 p.m. and well, guess who was outside in the dark with a flashlight? Me. He definitely calls the shots when it comes to the evening schedule.
He has you well trained, James. But for our listeners, try to use it in a sentence. Using a new phrase in a personal context is the best way to make it stick in your brain. How about you, listener? Do you call the shots at home, or are you like James?
Hey, I'm working on it. But seriously, guys, give it a try. And while you are writing that comment, please do us a huge favor. If you are finding these episodes helpful for your intermediate English journey, hit that subscribe button. Give us a like or a rating. It really helps us keep the lights on and keep making these for you.
It really does. We see every subscription and every comment, and it makes this feel like a real community. It's so much more fun than just talking into a microphone while my husband watches his bird-watching documentaries in the other room.
Totally. We are all in this together. So go out there, use your new English skills, and remember, you are the one in the driver's seat. You call the shots in your learning journey.
Well said, James. Keep practicing, keep being curious, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye for now, everyone. I'm off to see if I can convince my dog to let me choose the movie tonight. Wish me luck.
Goodbye.